Today we'll be talking about not runtime libraries, but right-to-left applications. So it will be mostly a UI talk. And before I go ahead, I would like to give you a little bit of a backstory around this topic and why I'm choosing to speak literally about it. So let's go to the east, to the wild east. So this year I had the privilege of going to Japan, which was one of my main destinations, a bucket in my life bucket. So I was really happy to do that this year. Once I got there, I took the first picture. All of these pictures I've taken by me. So this one here gave me a very good welcome in English. So I thought it's going to be an easy one. After that, I went to the real streets where I found that people there barely or definitely don't want to speak in English, or they just don't want to use English. Most of the time, they prefer to use Japanese, and that was a bit of a culture shock to me. So I really wasn't sure if that's going to work out for a very long time, but this is how I ended up with. This was one order where I tried to make sure I'm trying to communicate with them as good as possible. I ordered one coffee, ended up with 2 coffees and 1 orange juice. And that's just the start of it. Then after that, I really wanted to get some food. For the last week, I have been eating just food from the Japanese restaurants, so I wanted to get back to eat something from our land and see how do they cook it over there in Japan. So I went to this restaurant. It's just another kebab restaurant, a Turkish one. There wasn't so many interesting things about it, but this one was very interesting. So here, the title is in Arabic, the title is in a Latin-like language, it's Turkish here. And then we have below that, we have the Arabic one. So this seems like Arabic. I'm not sure how many of you speak Arabic, but you cannot tell whether that's actually proper real Arabic or not. You have to actually know the language to tell that. So as a native Arabic speaker, I knew that that's completely wrong. It doesn't communicate anything. The whole thing is messed up. I just went there into the restaurant and asked them whether do they know what's written out there or not. They said nobody speaks in Arabic here, but we had this for a couple of years, so they never decided to remove it. That was the aha moment for me, and I realized that actually I want to give a talk about right to left just because of this. And I remembered also that I've been doing this way longer. So this video I have recorded 6 years ago was about the same topic, about right to left. It was a problem with another framework called FireMonkey. It was something used to create desktop apps and moved to create Android and iOS applications. But the whole story here is there. I have been stuck with right to left for a very long time. And now chapter 1, 2 billion and a few numbers. And here, let's take a look at how many people or how many countries and people actually use right-to-left languages in the world. As you can see, it covers a very good portion. Most of it is in Africa and Asia, but it covers a good portion of the map of the world. But it gets bigger, and the number of people doing that gets larger based of some countries. For example, India, there are some parts where they speak and use some languages that are right to left, but not the majority part of it. So majority and minority here with the map. And that number here is based off the Unicode documentation, is the number of potential people who are using our right to left languages. So that's 2 billion out of 9 billion people out of us here. So that's a very huge number, but let's get back to Apple. Apple, they give us something way more accurate than that number. So here they give us an accurate number of people using devices on Arabic. This is where I've got that information from. It's from 2022. It might be bigger now, but 600 million people use their devices just in Arabic, not other right-to-left languages. So this is an example of some right-to-left languages. We have Arabic, we have Persian, Farsi, we have Urdu, Hebrew, and some other languages I didn't know existed before I tried to do this talk. But one thing you can notice, or probably don't, unless you speak one of these languages. So I just want to get to see hands of, at least if you see a language here that you speak, show, apart from English, just don't say English. If it is English, don't throw your hand. So, okay, we have a few people. So obviously, none of these languages are making sense, especially the ones in the translation part. Some of them are completely not even written because I've used like a Python library just to do that. But I was very glad because I was just using it to showcase how the language looks like, but I ended up being surprised by how it doesn't look actually correct with any of these. So for example, here, Arabic is written literally from right to left with, it's not even written right to left, it's written left to right with different characters that are not even aligned. So That's part of the problem. So here I have a very nice, display of some of these languages. All of them are right to left, Arabic, Persian. This is all the translation of the word peace or salam or hello. Some of them look like they are the same, but some others I also don't know them. I had just to double check and make sure with some people who speak these languages that that's actually correct. Now chapter 2. So Unicode character. Let's figure out what that means in a bit. So we have in English, we have the letter H, we have the letter E, L, O. These letters, they make sense once we put them together. So they make sense by combining them together. They say the word hello. That's very easy. So it's just a couple of boxes. We put them together. They make sense, and they send the message. And that's all what we need from the language to do, or the language display to do. We need it to send the message and never lose the context. On the other hand, let's take an example from Arabic, an RTL language. We have the letter S or sin, L or lam, and alif or a, and meme or m. So these words, we put them together, and they make no sense. This is not Arabic, and it doesn't. Nobody can. You cannot send a message with these. These are just a serial of. You can read them only as singular letters here, and you cannot make sense of them unless you combine them. So this is one of the things that you will have to encounter when looking at right-to-left languages. And when we speak of that, we have to remember that Arabic is a huge population in that region. It's not the only one where the text doesn't make any sense unless it's combined with a text shaping algorithm where it knows exactly how to draw the letter based on its position. So for a simple comparison here, we have the table for the letters in English. It's Latin. It can be used for French, for Spanish, or any other language. So it's a very easy table. It doesn't have a lot of content. There are extended versions, but this is the simplest one. And this is for Arabic. It needs way more just in order to combine almost the same number of letters. And it's not the only one. For example, Hebrew is a right-to-left language, while they don't have the shaping algorithm that is needed for Arabic. So you can combine the letters the same way we do it with English in the case of Hebrew. So we have seen the first problem, or we have seen the first issue here. The next one is, if you want to read this as an English speaker, you read it from left to right. The first part, the first stable version of Flutter was released in 2018, but the project had started a few years before. Very simple and easy. We go streamlined. We'd never lose the flow. This is the same translation of whatever is there, but we read it from right to left in Arabic. So I'm just going to be speaking the same stuff. So تم إصدار النسخة الثابتة الأولى من Flutter في عام 2018 or 2018, but the numbers are still from left to right. So when we say right to left, it doesn't mean that everything is going right to left. The numbers are still from left to left. That's why they call it BD mode or bidirectional mixed mode. So, and then we go back to reading the numbers the usual way, or the letters the usual way from left to right. That brings us to what are those numbers. So we know that the numbers that we are using today for our for education or for expressing any idea are called Arabic numbers, but also there is another version of Arabic numbers, and these two versions are the Hindu one and the Eastern one. The Hindu one is the one that we are using today, originated in India. The Arab mathematicians brought it to Europe, and that's the one that we are using today for everything we communicate with. The Eastern Arabic is not deprecated. It's actually being used in a lot of countries. I have been using my phone for the last 2 weeks just for testing for this talk. I have been using it in Arabic. It makes sense, but not so much of it. Even as an Arabic speaker, it's very hard to navigate the flow. But they are just the same. Both of them are Arabic numbers, but just different numeral system. This is an example from Apple. They have their first talk with a language that is not Arabic just last year, with a language that is not English last year. So this talk was talking about designing for Arabic. And here you can see the flow of numbers. So the numbers, if you can read them from left to right, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if you read them, if you know how to speak Arabic or use those numbers, they are actually not for the same order. Like the first one to the left is not 1, it's actually 0. So it's flipped. The reason it's flipped there, it's not a problem or a rule. It's because these numbers, you do not read them as one big number or one large number. You're just reading them individually. That's the reason why here in this example, they are just from right to left. So as a rule, take it is that numbers will never change. There is only very, very, very specific situations where the numbers are from right to left the same way as the writing, which is in Hebrew in some religious text. But other than that, there is all the numbers are from left to right. Remember, emojis are also text. Emojis send messages, but let's take a quick look here. If you can take a look at what the message here, it's from left to right. Take a moment. Quickly running away from a line of cars. That's the message being sent. Now, we are going to do it in Arabic. We're going to do it from right to left, but we're just switching the order because it's right to left. So it's a completely different message. And now that's why the Unicode Foundation are trying to fix that with the latest release of Unicode. They're trying to incorporate something called like how strong is the emoji in terms of directionality. So this is how they are classifying them. Some of them actually, it matters when there is a direction. So they will have to add support to that in the next few versions of our devices, hopefully, but it's still just a proposal at the moment. We have seen text, we have seen numbers, we have seen that emojis as well. Now let's talk about the rest. This is an example from a Flutter app. This is in both Arabic and in English. It literally looks like a mirrored version of it. We see that it's not just text. Like we have the text is being flipped for sure. We have the sliding now. Instead of sliding from left to right, you will be sliding from right to left. Same for the menu. This is another example here from the settings page, almost like mirrored. You can see that the exit button is also flipped from top left to top right. Another example where it gets more crowded because we have text input here, and the back button as well has changed. I have shown you all the reasons, but if that wasn't enough, or just to make sure that you understand the pain of people who are using it in Arabic or in other languages, I'm going to try to get you into the right to left choose and see how it feels. This is completely English app, but it is in RTL mode. Look at it. See how stressful it gets? It's really, really not comfortable to use it like this. And this is another sample here. Everything is flipped. This is how a user was using the earphone, let's say in an RTL language like Arabic. And all of the other apps are supporting right to left. And then there is your app, which is just another app on the App Store, and it suddenly doesn't have the support for that. They have been going left. They have been closing apps from the top right every single time. And then suddenly your app is from the top right. What do you think they will be doing? Surely it's not going to stay in the App Store for long. Just some random examples from there. But those were just a couple of reasons. Just try to get to make sure you understand the pain of these users. And it's not that big, but at the same time, it gives you a bit of a perspective that there is an actual issue, and you have to consider it if you want to or if you need to. Chapter 3, some Flutter stuff. One of the main reasons I picked up Flutter just going back to 2018 was their RTL support. So if you remember the video I mentioned, that was me using another language or another framework for a couple of years before, but I have had always the trouble with the native language of Arabic, and always there are problems with rendering the text. So this was a client in Algeria. Now they are one of the biggest food delivery. They are called Food Peeper, and now they are in multiple countries. But the main version that they wanted to do, it was in Arabic, nothing else, just in Arabic. And we did that in Flutter, and it was perfect. And we kept using it even as of today. If you want to take a look at the app on the App Store, it was also in the early 2018s. Flutter was just out of alpha or just still in the alpha stages. This is another app called Healthcare, over 500,000 downloads across the App Store. And it was mainly targeting people in Saudi Arabia who are fully 100% Arabic speakers. So that was one of the main reasons I picked up Flutter initially, just to make sure that it actually works with Arabic. Now, probably have never had to encounter RTL, but take, for example, I think all of us had at one point tried to create the most simple Flutter app where you just say, main.run app, and then the app is just going to show a text. Every time we try to do that, if we take the text widget and we remove everything else, it's going to tell us that there is no directionality widget found, because at the lowest level, directionality is needed, and you cannot assume that. It's not something that you can automatically define. So that's where we start using the widget called text directionality. But if we don't need to use that, there is a feature or like a flag called text directionality with two values, left to right or right to left. So this one will fix it and will display that text. But the reason we have never had to do any of that manually is because of inherited widgets called directionality, and it's being set by default by the Flutter framework. If you use widgets app or let's say material app, that will send a default value of left to right, and it will be going through to all the text widgets underneath that and everything else. So the default localization is American English, as I said, but that doesn't change everything going from left to right. There will be some bases. For example, the canvas, if you change from, most of the time we do some math, the math for that is not going to be changing from right to left in that case. These are some of the examples where you will need to take a little bit of careful look. Speed up. 1 minute. Okay, I'm going to do this in 5 minutes. So icon is a good example for that. Icon, we have here icons that send the message of directionality. All of them in Flutter, if you add the directionality of right to left, they will actually support it and flip it, but not all of them, so just to be careful of. Edge insects, and this is just another way of saying, if you have padding, instead of doing it just using edge insets, use edge insets directional so that it will actually be layout oriented for right to left users. Another example of those is the positioned widget. There is another one called positioned directional. Instead of having left to top to bottom, they have top to and right, they have start and end. Same, another one called alignment and versus alignment directional. A couple of widgets from Flutter that implicitly do that by default, majorly the row and the column. Like if you have items from left to right in a left to right mode, when you switch that, the order will be flipped. One thing I need you to make sure that it's not actually in the right one is a question whether they give them 2 stars or 3 stars here. Who knows the answer? I'm not going to tell. It's just UI. I don't think anyone will be able to tell. It's probably just because of the UI. It's like there will have been a better choice of colors, but here we're just giving them 3 instead of, we're not just giving them 2. But that will be probably me just giving a bit more confusion to you. But it serves the point where if everything is switching from right to left, there will be things you need to consider. This is another good sample here from the WhatsApp app. If you write some text in English, it will definitely display from left to right. If you write something in Arabic, it switches the directionality of the text. That is not supported by default in Flutter, and we actually have to do some work around that to make it work. So this is a demo I just made here. So this is me writing in Arabic. It takes it from right to left, and if I switch to English, it's going to do it right way. So this is just using Unicode because we now know a little bit of Unicode. This is a Unicode check-in for the first letter, whether it's Arabic, Hebrew, Syriac, because every character has a position in the table. So that's how we are able to figure that part out. To get it right, take a look at the Flutter gallery, and it's the best sample app that you can ever find. I have some really cool demos, but even they still don't get it right, so you probably need another eye from someone from the native land. One last thing that I want to actually talk about, make sure that is sent through my talk, is adding RTL, like, why do you need to add that? We have seen the reasons, like, it's a huge market, some people have pain, but one other reason that you actually, if you don't care about any of this, is that if you create your app in a way that it supports right to left, it will make your UI system or layout system way more flexible, because you will do so much more abstraction and you will think about the responsivity in a way higher level. So that's just a side benefit, but I have felt like whenever I create applications that targets the right to left market, I always end up taking more care of abstracting the elements and doing a better work on the layout. This is a summary, and that's it.